us from Oklahoma. Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen working. Okay, I'm just going to mute Lois. There you go. Hello, Andrea. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here.
Welcome. Is it a bit chilly there?
Yes, and especially in this office right now, but it's all good.
Oh dear, oh dear. When I saw Andrea's profile, I was quite inspired with her story, because she would work 24 days straight and take 6 days off every month. And then suddenly, like, was it 2 years, you found yourself in, come on, you tell your story. You'll do a better job than I would tell your story.
No, absolutely. So yes, absolutely. My name is Andrea. I am actually a first generation Peruvian American. So I live in Oklahoma City in the US, but so if you hear an accent, my first language is Spanish. I might make up a word here and there. It's happened in the past. But super excited to be here. So I'm an engineer. I went to school for engineering. I worked in oil rigs right out of school, which, scared my parents immensely when I said I'm moving internationally and I'm going to go work in oil rigs. But we were working a pretty strict schedule, 26 days on, 4 days off. I really lived that hustle mindset right out of college and really proving myself in a very male-dominated field. So this is 12 years ago, so it's still male-dominated today. Back then, it was even more so. But I really put my blinders on and I said, I'm going to be successful in this space. And I was able to achieve a rank in the company that normally took 5 years. I did it in 2 years, broke a worldwide record. And I became obsessed with understanding really what drove peak performance, what drove that ability to crush those goals and break that standard that other people have and create your own milestone. So I've been doing that ever since. I'm actually still in corporate America and I have my business. I kind of really resonated with what Lewis said about that, like your motivators. I actually have both sides, the entrepreneurial side and the intrapreneurial, I think is what she called it. So I actually have both. So I'm living both of them right now.
Career and business, how do you do both?
So one of the things that I hope everyone gets from this, which is a really common theme, is having a team is really important. I invested in a team when I had 0 clients. So this is like over 2 years ago. I said I have this vision. I was like, pretty much. And I picked 2 people that have been with me ever since. My team has grown since then, but they were the 2 that, I told my husband, I was like, I know this might seem crazy that I'm just going to invest in this, but I believe in me and I believe in what I can create. So let's just do this together. And he was on board. And I reminded myself of, it was really easy for me to invest in my college education without blinking an eye. So when I looked at my business, I said, why would I not take that same mindset and apply it to something that could be mine forever, that no one could take away from me? Because I think we've been hardwired to be like, well, college is expected, right? College is something that you should spend $80K in, and without thinking about, the return on it. I was like, I need to think about this as far as like for me and my future and how I'm going to retire.
That's so insightful.
So how do I manage it besides outsourcing? I decided that my business would be worked within the time that wouldn't disrupt my family. So I actually have a 2-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. And I know it's gonna sound probably crazy, and sometimes when I say it out loud, it sounds crazy, but I work my business during nap times and the weekends and before my family wakes up in the morning. Everything else, I schedule a task and make sure I send it to my team. My content is, 30 days in advance. It's already put together, because that's the only way that I've really been able to manage and see the growth that I want. And I would say
it's like you're planning. It's basically, you've got to do planning for your business.
A lot of planning and finding the business model that works with your schedule. So if I were doing this full time, I might have a bigger suite of products, but because I do this with a full-time mindset, but with a very limited amount of time, I have a membership style approach. So I made it work to where I could still have the impact that I wanted, without the one-on-one time that maybe it would be required. So I made a business model that worked with my available time, that I could get ahead of it and still be profitable and be growing every single month.
That's crazy. Amazing. And you've got, I mean, because I have got a 2.5-year-old, I know how difficult it is to actually work around children. But I hear you, when you plan it, this is what happens with me. When I come home, I know how, at what points my son is going to have his moments, that he himself is just going to be by himself. That's when I go and email back to my clients and then or send my newsletter out or whatever I've got to do that day. I know I'm going to have at least 25 minutes. So if I plan that, when it's planned, it's usually easier to fire out, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think having clear boundaries with your clients is really important. So when I created, because sometimes they want to have that more, they're like, they want a little bit more. And it's like, well, we want more one-on-one time. That's a different package. We're part of a membership. It's this price for a reason. You can expect my answers. They're going to be, no later than 24 hours between this time and this time. So then their expectations are met, but also I would say because I had to do this at the beginning. I would get a request from a client, a question or something, and I felt this urge of wanting to tackle it right away. That's probably the corporate America in me of you're expected at work to kind of always be on. With my clients, I had to set clear boundaries because I found myself being very distracted from my family time on the weekends. And the last thing I wanted to do was not be present for my family.
It's, you've got to think of yourself, don't you? You can't just think of the client, which is great. You have to think of your business, but the business is run to fulfill your passion and give you a good living. But if it's going to take over and burn you out, you've got to balance that.
Yeah, and that's what I want to teach my clients too, is that they are allowed to put boundaries in their life, and I'm teaching them to do that with their corporate job. So a lot of my clients are in corporate, wanting to climb the ladder, and it's funny enough, a lot of them could fit into that aggressive title that they've been placed in their career, but mainly because they're go-getters. But that's one thing, is like, you at some point, you got to live your life, not live to work. So what is that balance for you and still fulfilling and meeting your goals?
It's true. It's interesting. I'd like to know how many of our audiences here self-employed or still working for a corporate world or doing both. It would be interesting, wouldn't it? How many of you still working? Are you doing both? There is Jessica who's doing both. How are you finding to manage that, Jessica? Well, a bit difficult. So do you have tips how they can do that? How they can actually manage it easier? So is there any tips that you can give?
Absolutely. So I found myself at the beginning of my journey, you learn from people online, right? Like you go and find, and you say, I'm going to go and find people that are doing what I want to do. And then you start getting inspired by them. And perhaps they're talking about, hey, I had this 20K launch this month, and I had this, I don't know, that's 10 clients onboarded today. And you're like, gosh, I want that so badly. Like I want to be there so badly, but you're comparing yourself to someone that's currently has the bandwidth to do it full time. So I really had to tune in to myself and figure out what are the goals that I want to accomplish in the near term that feel aligned, that will make me feel like I'm progressing. And I chose consistency over big numbers. So I looked at the advice that people had online, and I said, I want to find something that works for me, because there's not a whole lot of people maybe in this particular space that are doing both right now and growing. So I want to find a way that it works for me. What I did is I removed all those big numbers out of my head. I didn't remove the big goal where I was headed. I removed that if I wanted to have, a 5K month, I stopped thinking, oh, I can do this in just one launch. I'll work really hard and it'll happen. I just said, okay, what could be a consistent growth every single day that's going to get me to the 5K that I know I can do and that I know that I can stay with it. So I picked a consistent track. So at first it was just posting 3 times a week, doing one IGTV video, and that was my minimum. That was the minimum consistency that was going to add to my business. And I just decided to play the long game. So I think it's really important to decide, like, once you start, I mean, like, I'm going to be in this until I'm never going to quit. So the small consistent steps are going to get me there. But comparison game is really big, especially if you have days that perhaps your corporate job, I would especially talk to women that maybe you do want to leave your corporate job. So you have that sense of, I'm not doing something I'm passionate about right now in this job, which is why I want to leave it so badly. Look at it as that job is your investment fund into your business. So don't look at it as you are settling. Look at it as, okay, this is what's giving me the revenue to invest in my business that's going to take me long term. And that switch in mindset has helped a lot of my clients that are doing both. I have a lot of women that are building businesses around their corporate careers that actually don't have a desire of leaving their corporate job. They might want to tweak it, but for the ones that do want to leave it, I'm like, okay, great. Think about that. That's your investment banker. So don't look at that relationship like anything else.
That's brilliant. It's almost like a buffer, isn't it? To create your dream, you've got to do that. And so if you think that, you think more positively about what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're going to talk to potential clients a little bit different too, because you're coming from a place of inspiration, not necessarily I need this sale or else. So if you kind of reframe that mindset for yourself, it gives you a lot of peace of mind. And I just want to remind everyone, like, give yourself a little bit of grace, because when you have all these big things on your plate and you're wearing many hats and your responsibilities might switch maybe at home, you are tackling a lot. So don't dismiss everything that you're already doing and how capable you are. Allow yourself to, I like to do this exercise, especially for me, right? Like, I wear my corporate hat, I wear my business hat, I wear my mom hat, my wife hat, my daughter hat. I mean, my mom expects to talk to me, in her mind, it would be ideally once a day for at least an hour, but I have to kind of settle her a little bit. But I have to be like, okay, I would look crazy if I put on 5 hats right now on top of my head, right? So I want to wear one hat and I'm going to wear it well, and I'm going to take that off and I'm going to wear the next hat. So that's why I decided, okay, I'm on the weekends, in the morning, I wear my business hat. As soon as my kids wake up, I put my mom hat on, and I try to be 100% while I wear each hat. And that's helped me not feel like I'm being pulled in a million directions.
It is so true. I've noticed that, I don't know when was that, but I had to do something, and I was with my son, and I was also trying to do the food shopping in the supermarket. And then I realized I suddenly got really stressed. My heartbeat started to go in, and I could hear my heartbeat, and I was so stressed, and my blood pressure was going, and I just realized I was trying to wear 3 hats at the same time. And that is so stressful, because there is my little child trying to get my attention, and also my brain is working to get the food ready for the week ahead, and then trying to email to a client that needs an outfit to be delivered, but she can't decide the color, and if there was any other option, if I could eat. It's like, and then I just thought, okay, I'm actually going to put these, because that client isn't watching me to say she could answer me now. I could leave the phone there, and yeah. I could manage this kind of time management and planning at the same time, isn't it? And then I just thought, okay, if I give my son this biscuit that we just bought for him to eat now, if I open it, the supermarket manager is not going to come and kill me for it, will he? So I just get him calmed down, and I just thought, okay, that's better. It's just, I think, just realizing that, again, coming down to multitasking isn't actually good for you, is it?
It's harmony, right? We're looking harmony, and I feel like we've been sold this idea of the work-life balance. The moment that we had cell phones, that's just not a thing anymore. So you are carrying all your hats in this tiny little device. So you have to be conscious that it's gonna try to catch you. And I just think that's a huge thing. I saw a notification pop up for a Q&A, but I
go for it.
Oh,
go for it.
I might have to click on it. I'm on my phone, so I apologize. You might have to read it to me.
What's your advice for switching from one hat and switching to another? How do you change your mindset?
So I look at what is a successful hat day look like. So to me, and this was going to look different for every single one of you. So for me, for example, let's talk about my mom hat, because there's, especially like, I'm sure I've gone through mom guilt enough in just 3 years. I can imagine what the next lifetime is going to be. But for me, what is a successful day of wearing my mom hat? And I really define that. So on a Saturday, a successful day, let me talk about even yesterday. So a successful yesterday would be, my kids wanted to make Christmas cookies, and they wanted to watch a Christmas movie, and they wanted to play Monsters. So I said, okay, so my successful hat wearing is doing those three things and making sure that I give my undivided attention. I also knew that I had a coaching call later that day. So I was gonna be intentional that around 5 o'clock, I wanna start switching hats. But what I really didn't wanna feel like was that in a specific moment, I was not living true to what a successful hat wearing looked like. So what is that for you? Like, journal that, because there's some things that make you feel maybe like a great partner, like a great mom, like a great business owner, that fire you up, that give you that sense of accomplishment. What is that for you? That way you know what you need to be doing in those moments, and you're not kind of spending your time in limbo. That's really helped me.
Did that answer your question? My screen is frozen. Yes, there you are. My screen
Perfect.
is a bit funny.
And you know, one thing that happened to me earlier, so my husband doesn't build a business online. He actually had a brick and mortar business for a long time, and we decided to sell it. So when I decided to do my online business, one missing piece, and I don't know everyone's situations, but I know we all probably have some sort of, maybe a partner or a loved one that we care about, that we're spending time with. And as your business starts taking off, a priority, and you have big goals, and you feel like there's a lot to accomplish, a lot of the times we forget that our partner might not know everything about our business. So when I say I need to go live on Instagram, it might look like, oh, you're just going live on Instagram. I'm like, no, going live on Instagram means I build trust with my audience, and it means that most likely after this, I can share XYZ with them. I really try to keep them in the loop of like, these are the things I would like to accomplish over the next week in my business. In order for me to accomplish them, I need to be able to be on stories and do this and do that, and really share that ahead of time. So it didn't feel like a distraction. It felt like he was a part of it. And that really helped, because for the longest time, he was just like, are you just posting stories because like it's fun? It's like, no, it's actually, this is my business account. This is me doing my business. But I wasn't quite sharing that. So that really helped.
I think being specific when you ask for help or whatever you're doing is very important. I just finished reading Chillpreneur. Have you read that book by Denise Duffield Thomas? I highly recommend to anyone who is in business to read it. And there's a part kind of towards the end. She's talking about when she was pregnant, she asked her husband to bring her donuts on the way back, and then the husband turned up with donuts, and I'm not going to tell exactly word by word that she wrote, but then he turned up with caramel donuts, but all she was dreaming in her head was strawberry donuts with the custard cream inside. And then obviously she just started screaming to say, this is not the one I wanted. And then he just went, yeah, but you never told me which one you wanted. I thought you'd like this. So it's just being specific what you want and what help you need or what you're doing to people around you. I think gets you to the next level quicker. It's just asking for help isn't weakness. I think that's the other thing for entrepreneurs. We feel like if we ask for help or advice from our friends, obviously you can't ask help from everyone. You gotta ask the right person. But when you ask this help, it's just very important that you are specific, that you're not generalizing your question or your request, because if they get it wrong, you're gonna think they're not caring, but you're actually not being specific enough. So
I completely agree. And even sharing the wins, right? Like, hey, because you watched the kids over the weekend and you helped me, you gave me 4 hours to do this. Look what I did. And then look at what this person sent me today and the win that they had. look at the impact that we are making.
Yes.
And it was like, once it was like, oh wow, like you did that, like that's what that did. It's like, yeah, no, isn't that awesome? He's like, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, so share the wins as well. Share what's happening on the other side, the impact that you're making. And I know there was a question about the membership and the price. So let me tell you a little bit. So I started my business doing one-on-ones, and I was spending, 90 minutes. I had a roster of, I believe, 15 clients at the beginning, and I was spending almost all Saturday on one-on-ones and Sunday on one-on-ones. And I said, okay, this is not sustainable. So I decided to say, as they were offboarding, to decide I'm going to completely switch my model. I knew that I was going to be doing something a little bit different, especially in my space. So I needed to, in my niche, so I wanted to first get those founding members in. So my membership at the beginning was $49 a month. And I actually still have people in the membership that pay that price because I honor that for them. But where I say is, after I kind of proved the concept, I knew that in order for me to be excited about this membership and really show up and give them the quality of me and give them the energy that I needed, $49 a month was a steal. So I went back and then relooked, okay, what all am I doing? What services I'm providing? How am I over delivering? And let's make sure that that price is adjusted accordingly. So right now my membership is $149 a month. And I can tell you it's less stress for me. It takes me, one member instead of 3 members. The people that sign up for my membership are ready to take action because they're investing $149 a month. So there's skin in the game, and I found that I got better clients. To be honest, all my clients in my membership are awesome, but I found ones that were like taking action much quicker because they wanted to make sure that they were using their money accordingly. So $149 a month really excited me. I knew that my goal was to have 300 members in this membership. That's still my goal. That's where I'm going. But I would say pick that, and then I think another question is retention. And I apologize, you probably see my finger clicking back and forth just to make sure I get that. So how to deal with retentions from month to month? So great question. I actually make it a minimum 6-month commitment for my membership because, this is when I have a client coming in, I say, listen, if we know anything about life is that it's busy. If we know anything about our goals and our environment is that it changes. And in order for you to really get the transformation that you need, we need to work together for more than just, a month to month. And I promise you, by you committing to the 6 month is that you get my full commitment. So like, I'm going to go above and beyond to support you during the 6 months because I know that this is our time frame to work together. And what I've seen is that 6 month allows not just a great relationship with you, but it creates a relationship with the rest of the community. So people are talking to me and they say, just the community itself is worth every dollar amount. You just make this so much more. And I make sure that truthfully, like I treat them, like I make sure I nurture them. I make sure that I'm checking in on them. I have worksheets and interviews and coaches chat that I send in between, the way they feel like there's a touch point with me, because I want to make sure they feel supported even when we're not having a group coaching call. So that really feels aligned with me and who I am. And I would say kind of find what it looks like for you. What could you give them in between? And I'm seeing great results. 2020, especially in the corporate world, has been pretty crazy. A lot of people, have had to kind of restart, rebrand themselves. And what I'm seeing is because they've committed to those 6 months, they were able to really pivot. And those are the stories now I share on social media, which is, listen, I'm not going to sell you on your dream career in a month. That's like, I'm not going to make that claim. What I can tell you is if we work together and you are consistently growing and you implement all of this over the next 6 months, we can do a lot of really great things. So I really want to paint what a transformation would look like. But it used to be month to month at the beginning. Then I made it 3 months. As I get more and more results, I started upping that minimum commitment, and also gives me stability in everything that I'm doing. So I know what my, monthly revenue will be at least for the next 6 months.
Wow. Great tips. Thank you, Andrea. Brilliant. Wow. That was good.
Awesome.
Has anybody got any more questions for Andrea before we let her go to her next meeting, probably?
I do have a meeting at 1. I would leave you with, I share a lot of advice and a lot of free stuff on my page, but just I want to remind everyone, and I get asked this question a lot when it's like, what's my favorite quote, or what's, what is kind of like the one liner that I live by. And we have to remain hungry and humble, that there's always more to learn, but do not take for granted that what you have today inside you is enough to make an impact in someone's life. And we are so strict on ourselves like that sometimes, your B- work could really help someone reach their dream that you take for granted. So don't take for granted what you do well, because that could be what someone else is dying to be able to do. So just don't stop yourself. I would say that would be the biggest thing I would advise.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. It's so true. I think what happens is when you start your journey, you think, what my story isn't that great. Nobody wants to know it, and you think you listen to somebody else's story, and then you think, oh my God, what a great story they have, and then they probably thought their story was never a great story. So it's always get yourself out there, ladies. Don't be shy. Just be yourself. Being authentic is the best asset for your business.
Absolutely. So I'll leave you with messy action is better than no action. So just be messy. You'll get better. I cringe sometimes when watching my videos from 2 years ago, but I'm like, you know what? You go, girl. From 2018, you were really messy action back then. And sometimes you have to think back and be like, man, that just makes me proud on its own. So be proud of yourself. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? Like, speak to yourself like you would to your best friend. And thank you so much for allowing me to be here today, because that means a lot to me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andrea. Have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye.